Welcome to the Vector Garden. In this video, we are going to take a look at halftone effects. And if you take a look at this here, then you see this is very special because this is not the halftone effect you might have seen from Illustrator. So when we take this and then apply Effect, Pixelate and Color Halftone, then you see this just generates circles and makes them larger or smaller depending on the lightness of the original image. But then in those negative areas, you do not form circles. So that is a fake halftone. But this one will be mimicking a real one, where inside of these, we really get circles, or at least rounded areas. So let's first take a look at those halftones, and to do that we are going to use Photoshop. I've prepared the image in a new file and we're going to do some preparation. You have to typeset this, and also I have changed the tracking so you can see that here. I've set a wider tracking so that when blurring this they do not touch. Also, this is not black, the text. So then we need to apply the Gaussian blur effect, like this, or maybe slightly smaller. It's also important that you select a font that has more open counters. So this is rather on the edge, but it will still work. We're going to apply this, and then let's take this to Photoshop. I'm just going to copy it and then switch to Photoshop, create a new file, and then paste it as pixels. That's okay. And first of all, in order to just have less calculating, I'm going to change the resolution. I'm going to resample this to 300 ppi. And now, in order to get the real halftone, the only method you have in Adobe software is change the color mode. So first we are going to grayscale, and then we are going to bitmap, which is 1 bit. So there will only be black and white pixels in this. I'm going to select an output resolution of 300 ppi. This is not enough for bitmap. We will soon see that, but it's enough to show you the effect of all of this. And then in this menu, which is usually set to diffusion dither, you select halftone screen. And then go to OK. And then inside of here, we have to set a low frequency in order to get these large halftone dots. And also the shape needs to be rounded. And then we can just go on OK. And then you see what's happening here. So that is just emulating the real halftone that you get. And you see we've got round dots here, and then it turns to nearly squares, and when it gets to the darker parts, then we have these rounded white areas, and the darker it gets, the smaller these get, and then inside of those you get small round white dots. So this is the real halftone. But also you see clearly the resolution is just not sufficient. So when you want to do this, you have to set up a resolution of 1200 ppi or something, then you get really nice round dots. Okay, so this is in Photoshop. Now let's take a look at how to do this in Illustrator. And inside of Illustrator, we now have two methods, and this depends on whether you have Astute Graphics plugins or not. We will see both methods, with the plugins and without. When you do this with the plugins, you will have actual live text, which is not possible without the plugins. We already have the blurring, and now we need to apply that rasterization. And for that, I'm going to select Effect, and then we're going to use Phantasm and Halftone. And then you see in here also we get the round dots. Let's set up this with a lower DPI setting like this. You see they are round, and also they will just get larger. We won't get the real halftone from this. And that's why we can't use the circle at all, actually. We have to set this to square. And also we have to set up the grid angle to be like this, and you see you get this kind of checkerboard, and we need to set up the dot gain, and you see the squares are getting to touch here, and you can adjust that as you like it. So I don't need that one, so let's just set up this. And of course this is a live effect, you can revisit that later. Doesn't matter. Let's go to OK. And now we're going to open the appearance panel because we constantly need to rearrange those effects now. And then we're going to effect path, offset path. And you see this is not going anywhere. So let's just go to OK. And you see it gets applied up here, but we need it down here. OK, it's too high. So let's set it to 1 and see what we get. That looks promising, like this. Let's go to Effect, Pathfinder, and Add. Also wrong, it needs to be down here. And now you probably see where this is going. So we are using a part of the Metaballs effect here, but we do not apply the second part. Now the second part would be to apply another offset path and then round those corners, but it's better to do that another way. And since we have Astute Graphics effects, we just go to Effect, Vector Scribe, and now round those corners. And again, it's at the wrong place, so let's move it down here, and you see, well, there we go. So the only thing we need to do now is go into the offset path and change those values until we like the result, and you can just go on editing that. And also, of course, this all interacts with each other. So the offset path interacts with how large those squares are, and the squares depend on how dark the gray is, and also on the setting of the dot gain in the halftone effect. So you can figure out the way in which you want to edit those to get to the effect you like. We can also go back in here and set this perhaps to just 3 dpi, and we get larger dots, just like that. So this is how we get there using Astute Graphics effects. Now I promised I'll show you another way that doesn't use the effects. So let's make a copy of this and delete everything but the Gaussian blur. And then we need to take a screenshot here. You can also export that as pixels, but it's blurred, so it doesn't matter a lot. And now we're going to use a web service. There are also JavaScripts that can create this, but the web service does a pretty good job. So what we need is a vector halftone generator like this. So we have the vector halftone maker, which is a service that can totally do what I want. So let's open the image here. Let's upload it, and you see this is great, but it's using circles, and we have already seen circles is what we cannot use. So first of all, I'm going to add the gamma here, and then we are going to change that spacing so we get larger dots. And then we need a different angle. We need 45 degrees, but this is still, well, it's using the circles. So the next thing is we need to change that. Here we've got the circles and we want squares. And you see the squares, they are not right because we need them standing upright. So we've got another angle here, and in there we enter 45 degrees again, and then we got our checkerboards. And now we can again take a look at the gamma like this, and take a look at the space and maybe change it so that we get larger squares. Just edit that as you like, and when you're done, download the SVG. And then let's hide that, and let's just go back to Illustrator and open that SVG that we just downloaded. I know that they create a rectangle around it, so I've selected that, and let's just delete that. And now we're good to go. This is a group, so we can go on with our effects. So let's first go to Effect, Path, and offset this path just about 1 millimeter. And then let's go to Effect, Pathfinder, Add, and then we cannot use the Astute Graphics round corners. So we're going to Stylize, and in there we also have round corners. Now this round corners effect from Illustrator's native effects, this is only usable in a very tight range of cases. And basically it's only usable when you have vertical and horizontal lines and want to round corners that are 90 degrees. So in this case, it works pretty well, but in other cases, it might not work at all. So this is how you can create true halftones for Illustrator text.